Are you ready for the second half of the year? Well, if not, what are you waiting for, right? We are approaching the second half of the year, and definitely a holiday weekend is coming up for those in the US. And who wants to plan during a holiday weekend? So, whether your first half of the year felt good or the first half of the year felt bad, tune in tonight to learn the 3 steps you must do to outline the best strategic plan for your business during the second half, whether you are looking to increase from the first half or just looking to do something because the first half maybe wasn't so good. So during any pandemic or recession, you definitely want to tune into this episode to learn the 3 steps that you must do to outline your best strategic plan for the second half of the year. Before we get into all of that, I know some of you are likely new. Welcome. You're listening to Entrepreneurship is a Marathon with yours truly, Vanessa Zammy, the business defibrillator. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, I come on here live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube to share with you business and strategic tips. My clients call me the business defibrillator because I help bring life back to them and their business. Specifically, I work with local community micro businesses to help them increase their sales by at least 10% and helping them to really increase their sales while also increasing their sleep. And as always, in every episode, I always ask, what's been your win of the week? Yes. So what has been your win of the week? I want you to type it in the chat below. If you are, say chat, comments. I'm on Zoom all day. Type it in the comments. So if you are watching on YouTube, then type it in the comments below. Scroll down to the page, hit subscribe, and then keep scrolling and type in your comments, even if you're watching the replay. If you're watching us live on LinkedIn or Facebook, then also type it in the chat. What has been your win of the week? Yes, indeed. Let us know. What has been my win of the week? I would say is preparing for the next quarter, actually. So essentially this past weekend had sometimes pretty much just happens on a quarter basis is what I do. Well, I tell my clients to do, but also what I do in my own business as well too, right? Practice what I preach. So with that being said, right, this whole weekend essentially spent time just really outlining the Q3 plan for me and my team. And then pretty much at the end of the weekend was our team check-in. I said, here you go forth and prosper. Obviously there's still also work that I'm doing too. But it was great to just have that plan in place. And so we did that for the second half of the year for this next quarter. So it's going to be awesome. So what has been your win of the week? What is personal? It could be personal. It could be business, right? It could be maybe something that maybe you've decluttered your home this past weekend for summer, springtime cleanup, whatever it may be. Maybe you just booked your first trip in over 2 years. Maybe you have, booked that speaking gig that you wanted, right? But what has been your win of the week? Type it in the comments or in the chat. And even if you're watching a replay, I want you to put #replay and type it in the chat and comments. Yes. So tonight, what are we talking about? The 3 steps for you to increase your revenue during the second half of the year and for you to just have the plan in place to take your business to the next level for the second half of the year. Why this episode? Well, I realize that, so I'm usually speaking on how to avoid burnout. Essentially, that's my most popular topic that I'm usually requested for, except for during this time of the year. During this time of the year, my strategic efficiency workshop is the one that conference planners, event planners are choosing and wanting for their audience. So I figure you probably also want to hear some tips too. So we're going into 3 key steps. Now, obviously, this is not a 30, 45 minute, 90-minute workshop, right? So this is a jam-packed, insightful episode and podcast episode and live show for you to make and have those breakthroughs in your business. So get your notes ready. Number 1, right? Number 1 key step. This may sound obvious, but it needs to be said. Okay. So number 1 is get your data and metrics in place, right? So measure your performance. I know there may be some of you might be listening to this and you're just like, but I don't like numbers, or I'm terrible at math, or I hate numbers. Guess what? You are in business. Okay. Business is, even if you're a nonprofit, what do you have to raise? Funding. What is funding? Money. What is money? Numbers. Okay. If you are definitely a for-profit, then there are numbers tied to your business, tied to your taxes, tied to your livelihood, tied to your family's livelihood, right? Maybe it's not even about just you. A lot of my clients have families, right? So I also work with like single people as well too, but a lot of clients also have families too, right? So it's number 1 is measuring your performance. And the reason why you want to measure this, right? Even if you're afraid of it, even if you don't like it, maybe it makes you cringe. Maybe the last time you looked at it, you're like, ugh, I don't like, I look at the numbers, Vanessa, but I don't want to see those numbers. Those are the numbers I want to see, okay? Well, guess what? You just have to see them. If only, even if it just motivates you to make them better, right? It's definitely ensuring that you have a different story in your mind, but you definitely want to look at the numbers and measure your performance, right? And I don't mean just financial numbers. Yes, financial numbers, so your profits, your revenue, your costs, the expenses, all that jazz, but also what are the numbers that are relative to your actual goals, right? What were your goals on the first half of the year? Maybe it was to increase your following, from 1,000 to 5,000, right? Maybe you just started doing Facebook ads in your business and you were looking to get from $5 per lead to $2 per lead, right? Or maybe you were looking to increase the following that you had on your business page, your Facebook business page, or whatever it may be, or maybe increase number of subscribers on your YouTube channel. But whatever the numbers were, whatever your goals were, what were sort of the key performance indicators? We call them KPIs, right? KPIs in the corporate space, but it also applies in entrepreneurship business space, all right? Gotta love it. So, gotta love it when the corporate work, applies to your business too. So for those who have made the transition. So with that being said, right? So KPIs, what are those key performance indicators that really tie back to the goal that you have for the first half of the year, and even for the plan that you have for your business in the future as well too. So looking at those and considering those KPIs, how are you measuring up against those, right? Maybe you are measuring up, maybe you aren't, but you got to know, right? You got to know how far away from you or how far away from those numbers you are or how close you are to those numbers. It gets me every single time, a client will come to me like, oh my gosh, not even a client, sometimes like before people are even clients. They come to me, oh my gosh, like, it was my first session. I'm saying, okay, how much money do you make per month? Like, they're like, I don't know. Right? I'm like, okay. But then they'll say, oh, my business is bad. Like we didn't, I'm just not getting the money in and it's just so bad. Oh my goodness. And then they look at the number. I give them the homework assignment. I'm like, look at your numbers, get the numbers in order. Next session, get the numbers in order, right? And they look at their numbers and they're like, oh, I guess we're actually doing pretty well, right? So then the next question is, well, where is that money going? And then we actually can have a discussion on things. But even if it's the numbers, whether it be the number of TikTok followers you're looking to get, the number of listeners or downloads you're looking to get on your new podcast you launched this year. But what are those KPIs, those key performance indicators, those metrics, the data points that you need for your business, right? That you were measuring up against for your business. And it may actually be a goal that you had, right? It might be like, I want to get $500,000 in sales this year, right? That could be the specific goal that you had. But looking at how are you measuring up against that? That's number one. That's just number one. Two more. Okay, so number one is measure your performance against your metrics, right? Number two is in the second half of the year, you want to keep what's working. So what happens is definitely very easy in entrepreneurship business space, right? You are a visionary, you are a creator. You may not be, maybe creating wasn't like your best strength, but at some level, as an entrepreneur, there's some level of creativity within you. What that means is you're also a visionary. What that means is there are lots of ideas and things in your mind that you wanted to do, that you can do. And you're like, yes, I can make this happen. And so you have all these things you want to do in your business. You're specific, not even outside. You probably have a bunch of other businesses you want to do too. But you also have your existing business where you're just like, oh my God, I have these 10 million things I want to do, right? But your existing business is also currently working and doing something. And so number two, the second thing you need to ensure that you're doing for the second half of the year, in order for you to ensure that you are increasing your sales in a way that is strategic and efficient and effective for your business, is to ensure that you are doing and focusing on the success, that you are actually understanding what is working in your business so that you keep that happening. Because let's say you decide, okay, I want to get to 1 million TikTok followers and you only got to like 100,000. Okay. It's very easy to then say, well, TikTok's not working for me. And who knows? Maybe it's not. But it also could be. And it could just be that there is something within that has been working for you. Or maybe you want to do your, whatever. You want to get to $100,000 in sales and you only got to 50,000. Maybe you want to get to $500,000 in sales and you only got to 150,000, right? But you got to $150,000 in some form or fashion. Some way, somehow, you got to $150,000. Right. And so what helped you to get there? What helped you to, perhaps you wanted to get 5,000 LinkedIn followers, you only got 3,000. What got you to 3,000? Right. And so looking at, for you, what is working? What actually is working for you to get to the numbers that you have been getting to? What is another way to think about it is, what do you actually like about what it is that you're doing? That could be another way for you to think about that question as well too. Sometimes that helps people really think through their business a little bit better, is what is it that you're liking about what you're doing during the week, when it comes to your business, right? What do you really enjoy when it comes to your business? And thinking about ensuring that stays and that does not get teared down, right? When we talk about pivot, oh man. Right. So I remember pre-pandemic, I was using the word pivot. I was in Silicon Valley. These tech companies, we use pivot. Pivot is a great word, right? Until it became overused in the pandemic. And everyone was like, I'm pivoting my business. I'm pivoting. I'm doing a pivot. Oh, we're pivoting. Right. And the thing is that people really were just quitting on their business. What pivot actually means is being strategic and intentional about what it is that you're doing, how it is that you're doing, right? Being strategic and intentional about what changes are you actually making. So in the second half of the year, before you go on and start using the word pivot, really think about, are you actually making a tweak, or are you just quitting on your business and doing a whole other business, okay? So you want to ensure that you are keeping your business, you are focusing on that success. But in order for you to focus on that success, you need to first understand what is that success? What is actually working in your business, in your life, that you want to ensure that you carries over into the second half of the year, right? Then, what's number 3? The third key step. So we talked about number 1 was measuring your performance against those key metrics, those KPIs, key performance indicators. Number 2, understanding what is working in your business, right? And ensuring that you are focusing on that success as you go along. And let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to type in the chat or type in the comments or send it to me privately via email. Yet if you're liking what you're hearing, give me a reaction on the Facebook or the YouTube, right? But what is it? Perhaps type in the comments for you, or what is it that is working for you in your business, right? While we were going through that discussion, what has come up for you? Maybe you may not have looked at the numbers yet, but you will. You will after this episode. You'll be looking at those numbers. But you can definitely at least get a sense of what is working, right? Maybe it's that networking group that you've been doing. Maybe that's working for you, right? But what is it that's actually working for you? Is it building connections? Is it attending networking events in person? But what is working for you, right? And then from there, the third step to ensuring that you are being more efficient and effective in your strategic plan for the second half of the year, and ensuring that you're not messing your business up in the process, is then to number 3, what is not working? What changes do you need to make whatever your goals is happen? And then what changes will you actually commit to making, right? So what changes do you need to make? Because it's just something just isn't working. So what changes do you need to make? And then what changes will you actually commit to making? Because at the end of the day, you may have 20, you may have 50, a list of 100 things you want to change about your business. You're like, oh my God, I need to add a course, I need to add a webinar, I need to add this, I need to add that, I need to do this, I need to talk to this person, I need to do that, I need to hire this person and that person. But you're not going to be able to do it all, especially depending on where those other metrics are, right, in your business when it comes to even the sales, your leadership ability, your team, your operations, right? So you need to ensure that, yes, you may have a list of all the things that you need to have happen, but what is it that now you're going to commit to actually doing during the second half of the year? And it might just be a commitment for the next 3 months, the next quarter. And then you see if you want to commit some more, right? Bit by bit, might be shy of commitment. That's all right. That's all good. And so when it comes to your business, so you want to ensure, yes, you have this list of things you want to change. Maybe you went to this group today and it had 10 people in the group and everyone was talking about what they were doing. And you were like, ooh, that sounds good. Ooh, that sounds great. Well, I'm going to do that too. No, you're not. Okay. No, you're not. So before you decide to do that, I need you to take a step back and really look at, not even I need you to, you too, and your business needs you to take a step back and look at what changes will you commit to making for your business during the second half of the year, because you can't do it all, right? And the thing is that when we talk about that first step of the performance and the data and the metrics, that data is so important because it helps you to see what is it that actually needs to change, right? I remember I was on the phone with a client a few weeks ago, right? And she was like, oh my gosh, like, oh, the online just isn't working. It's just not working for my business. She's a brick and mortar store and we're transitioning her to online. She's like, it's just not working. It's still not working. And we're gonna take a step back and say, okay, well, one, there hasn't been any traffic put to it because she had to like essentially stop her sales because this whole scam thing was happening with her online website, right? But also two, what was happening was that ultimately, right, it's like there's no traffic onto the website. And then people who were going to the website, there were issues with it. So we had to fix the user experience and I had to help her manage her team in that sort of way and helping them, product manage the whole thing, right? And helping her to ensure that she was giving her team the right direction that they needed in order to enhance that user experience. But ultimately, right, when it came down to it, it wasn't that the online wasn't working. It was that there were things that could be tweaked to then make it work better, right? And then the question became, okay, is that a commitment that we're going to make in the second half of the year to make this happen, right? I say we because obviously she's a client of mine, so I partner with my client. I'm a trusted advisor, right, with my clients. And so for you, it's looking at, okay, what needs to change? What needs to change? But then what will you commit to changing? Just because it needs to change doesn't mean that you're going to commit to changing it, and that's all right. You don't need to commit to all 20 things at once, okay? Time is on your side. And so when it comes to the 3 steps to ensuring that you are better the second half of the year, number 1 is understanding your performance and your data and your metrics. Number 2 is looking at what is working in your business so you can focus on that success. And number 3 is understanding what is not working. What changes do you need to make versus what changes we actually commit to making the second half of the year. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to continue in your business journey, if you have a local community business, perhaps your retail store, mom and pop shop, whatever it may be, and you're not ready to give up, but you know that your business and your life could be even better than what it is now, and you're ready to make that change, right? To make more income, but also be happier and healthier in your business than where you are now, then by all means, as always, I always encourage you to reach out to me. I invite you to schedule a complimentary consultation with me at power.v, my last name, Z as in zebra, A animal, and money, Y.com. So these calls are an opportunity for me to better understand what's actually happening with your business and then get a clear path forward on what makes sense. It may be work with me, maybe someone else, and maybe none of the above, right? And I remember I was on a call last week and I was talking to someone. And I was just like, at the end of the call, I was just like, it seems like you have everything. You have the plan, you have the accountability steps, you're good, you have the drive and the ambition. So you don't need me. It's like, oh my gosh, really? Right. So it's just to me that reinforcement, sort of that reassurance. That's really all it was, right? And then she went off her way. And some clients do need me, right? Some people do need me to help them with their business. And that may be you, that may not be you, but let's figure it out. So complimentary call, by all means, schedule 20 minutes with me. Let's figure out what's actually happening with your business. Let's see what's actually the next step for you to move forward. And it might be with me, it might be with someone else, but at least now we'll know. So schedule that time, power.bzambia.com. I'll put that link in the comments and also on your screen as well too. If you are watching us via YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook Live, right there at the bottom, power.bzambia.com. I look forward to connecting with some of you as well. And the rest of you, see you again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on Entrepreneurship is a Marathon. Have fun, make money, and share. Chat soon.